Good evening, everybody. I am Courtney McNeil, the Chief Curator of Collections and Exhibitions, and I am excited to be talking to you tonight about the growth of our fine art collection. So as Lisa mentioned earlier in her introduction, in the 10 years since the Jepson Center opened to the public, Telfair Museums has added 1,250 works of art to the permanent collection. It's a big number, and it's one that I'm very proud of. As I prepared for this talk tonight, I thought that my strategy really, ideally, should be to tell you all about every single one of those objects. And then I remembered I only have 5 minutes, so we'll just do a few highlights. The works we've acquired over the past decade encompass a wide variety of media, as you can see on the slide here. From paintings and sculpture to silver and furniture. I'll be using as examples works that are featured in the exhibition that is opening tonight that Lisa mentioned, Landmark, A Decade of Collecting at the Jepson Center. So our first strategy when we were working for many years on the construction of this building, as others have referred to, there was always the vision that in addition to housing world-class temporary exhibitions, the Jepson Center would also be the home for our modern and contemporary permanent collection. However, our holdings in that area were not as strong and deep as we would have liked. They were missing many of the biggest names in the post-World War II art world. Unfortunately, we had a good stroke of luck that we were able to enlist the very valuable help of the widow of Kirk Varnadoe. Varnadoe, for any of you who don't know, was a native of Savannah and was a legendary curator at New York's Museum of Modern Art. So working with artists whose careers had been touched by Kirk, we were able to assemble a wonderful body of work representing some of the most important artists of the 20th century. The collection consists of 31 works on paper, all donated directly to the museum by the artists themselves or by their representatives for those who passed away, and includes Chuck Close, Robert Rauschenberg, Kiki Smith, Frank Stella, others that I cannot list here because my slides are already moving. After establishing that cornerstone of the modern and contemporary collection through the Varnadoe collection, we continued to build our holdings through other strategies. In a number of cases, after the museum prominently displayed the work of a particular artist in a solo show, collectors would seek us out to make donations of that artist's work, knowing that ours was an institution where it would be appreciated. One example is this spectacular retrospective of the work of Sam Gilliam that you see an installation shot of here. The show was in 2006, one of the first we hosted here, and it's still among my favorites of all time that we presented here. At the time of this show, we were approached by private collectors from Washington, D.C., who offered to donate the image that you see on the screen, a really striking example of Gilliam's use of a stained painting with beveled stretchered bars. This painting, you can't quite tell from the image, but go see it in the gallery. It really appears to pop off the wall. It's a really wonderful example of his work. So when you look back to our more historic collections, our older collections, the idea of adding to those collections becomes a little bit more challenging. The works are rarer, they're much more expensive, and although we have wonderful holdings that we're internationally known for in the areas of American Impressionism and the Ashcan School, we have to remember that the Telfair acquired these works when they were contemporary works. They acquired them often in the same year they were painted, making them much more affordable and attainable for us. What we can do now when we look back at these older areas of our collection is to identify key strategic gaps in the collection that we are able to fill, and then work closely with resources available to us to try to find the best way of filling them. In this case here, we've had wonderful holdings of work by American artists working in Holland, but we were lacking a work like this, an interior scene set in a church focusing on figures rather than the landscape. And thanks to the wonderful Melchers Collectors Society, we were able to fund this really important acquisition that filled a key gap. And then the final way I'll talk about tonight in which we've grown the collection over the past 10 years is through new scholarship, identifying emerging or mid-career artists whose work we want to share with our visitors through a major exhibition and a catalog usually. And when we make the decision to devote major museum resources to a project like this, we always try to ensure that we can also make an acquisition of that artist's work so that our investment of time and energy in a project like this doesn't go away when the exhibition closes and we're able to keep this work in our collection in perpetuity. The example I've used here is an exhibition we co-organized with the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh, showcasing the wonderful photography of the Cuban-American artist Anthony Goicolea. Although I wish I could have talked about all 1,250 works acquired over the past 10 years, I hope you enjoyed hearing about just a few of the ways in which we've grown our collections over the past decade, and I hope you'll all join me in looking forward to many more exciting acquisitions in the next few years.